All right, so we flew back in yesterday. Actually, this morning. The days are really blending together. We flew in this morning. It was a super long layover. Crazy story, but it's kind of irrelevant at this point. Right now, where I'm at in this point of the creation of this short film and piecing it together is I talked lightly, or I talked at length in the last episode, the first episode, about how I kind of plan for these trips and how I kind of don't. I want to kind of leave it up to the experience of what I experience out there. We saw so many different landscapes. It started mountainous because we started in Jasper, Alberta, Canada, which is pretty far up north, and then made our way down to Banff, kind of similar. But then you go into Glacier, Glacier, Montana, still kind of similar, now starts to feel a little bit more like American West feel. And then we move over into like what seems like a desert in Cody, Wyoming, which is really cool. And then over into Yellowstone, and then ending in Tetons, and then flying out in Salt Lake City. So there's a wide range of stuff there. I tried peeking at the files that I have, and it's actually kind of overwhelming and daunting because of just like across 2 cameras and a drone, like hundreds of gigabytes. Like I always find myself in this position, like, where do I start? So my next steps moving forward is I have all of that footage down. I'm gonna go in now and start organizing like by days, so I can know what part of the trip I'm kind of moving into when I like tap into these folders. And then also one of the ideas that came up that my wife gave me was, because the landscapes change dramatically, it does not make sense to, as the story is being driven, to kind of mix in footage from a desert in Wyoming to a mountainous landscape in Glacier or Banff. It just doesn't look right. It doesn't transition smoothly. And so I think I'm going to approach visually, I'm going to approach it chronologically, but I'll break it up in chapters, because in the trip, there's obviously a lot of drive time between a lot of these locations. And in that, we're listening to music. And so that's helping me kind of also figure out the soundtrack of like what feels right when I'm driving through these mountains. And then that's what's going to pique like my memories, and it's going to draw me back to where I was there. And there were songs that stood out based on what I'm seeing. So like all of that, naturally, I'm taking notes as the trip is going on. What song am I listening to and am I enjoying in these plains in Montana or these mountains in Glacier? And so all of that, I'm taking notes. I have all that filed, so I'm going to start kind of organizing things based on the days and then the chapters. I'll break the storyline into chapters so that it does flow sequentially, but then also provides me a nice break and transition from, like, if I want to go from Glacier, Montana to Cody, Wyoming, or Jasper, Canada to Yellowstone in Wyoming, and rather than going back and forth. So all of that is dependent and based off of the notes and thoughts that I was kind of tracking and thinking throughout the trip. But that's the part of the lack of planning that I enjoy, because now it takes on an organic form that I get to now replicate from the trip and recall the memories, recall the conversations, and tie it all back into the theme, which I don't remember if I talked about in the first video. And I'll just talk about it now because this kind of goes into the planning process. So like the theme of the whole film is going to be like goodbye to the old me, meaning goodbye to when I didn't have kids, specifically when I did not have kids, but also looping into like goodbye when I was single, was not married. Because now as I enter this phase where like full on father figure over here, and then having to give up a lot of myself for the sake of my kids and their comfortability and loving on them, there's a lot I have to say goodbye to. And this trip was also like really metaphorical in that sense, because like my wife and I can't go off and do the excursions and the things we'd want to do if we didn't have our kids. But it took on a whole different meaning, because now we get to share this experience with them and see their faces when they see like this mountain or this rainbow that we just can't see back home, or just these different landscapes, and then talking through it, helping them process it, seeing the world through my eyes, and then translating it down to simple terms that they can understand. You have to say goodbye to a level of innocence and ignorance that you had and that you actually enjoyed before you had kids. That's the theme I'm still fine tuning it a whole lot more. But that's the theme of this short film, and that's why I think like breaking up into chapters to coincide with the visuals, and then also the audio snippets and conversations that I captured along the way that can contribute to it. That's where I have to, now I'm in the sorting process. I have to just figure out what I'm gonna do. And so also I will say one more thing that I like to do when, as I'm trying to, I have to get acquainted now with the footage that I took. I don't remember what I saw specifics like on day 2 and day 4. Like I couldn't tell you that right now because there was just so much. So now what I do is I go back and I start creating trailers, mini short films, just excuses to get in there and play around with sounds and the visuals in order to that, so that when it comes down to actually creating the final short film, or at least the first couple of drafts, I know what each day has and what I saw in each moment and all the audio files that I have. It sounds like a daunting task. I'm certainly not up for it right now. Probably today I'll start organizing files because I'm still a little jet lagged, but that's where I'm at now. And then in the next episode, I'll keep you all updated on what the next part of the planning process is. But for now, that's it. We'll see you guys in the next one.